Hi there, I'm Danny Flexen from Seconds Out and welcoming you to the Knockout Boxing Betting Guide here on Sportsbet TV. Big weekend of boxing action coming up, and no better place to concentrate on than Las Vegas, the mecca of boxing and all things vice-like as well, although we won't go into too much detail there. I don't want to get anyone, especially myself, into any sort of trouble. I can do that when I actually go to Vegas instead, which is a lot more fun. Big main event is obviously the middleweight unification fight between Canelo Alvarez, Mexican superstar, one of the best pound-for-pound fighters in the world, who's already got a couple of belts, and Danny Jacobs, the IBF champion, who's only lost twice. Second of those defeats was a contentious one against Gennady Golovkin, Canelo Alvarez's big middleweight rival, of course. And a lot of people had Jacobs winning that fight. I think maybe I did at the time too. I don't want to swear to it because it was a while ago, but I'm pretty sure when I scored it round by round, I had Jacobs slightly ahead. But a lot of people contend that the scoring was skewed because Jacobs did better than pre-fight expectations, which sometimes leads people to give him rounds he maybe doesn't quite deserve. I'm not sure I go along with that. I tend to score rounds, I think, subjectively, and I had him, I think, slightly ahead. But it was a very close fight, just as the Golovkin-Canelo fights were. This is a really interesting one. Canelo often wins his fights on size and strength. You know, he's not the tallest, but he's very thick set. He's a very talented boxer as well, don't get me wrong. He's incredibly skillful, agile upper body, great defense, and powerful. But he does bully fighters, especially on the inside. I don't see him doing that with Jacobs. Jacobs is a huge super middleweight. Can dictate on the back foot behind the jab, but can also get involved. Very talented boxer in his own right, very good amateur. But there are defensive frailties. You know, a lot's been made of his troubles he had in his personal life before he lost his unbeaten record to Dmitry Pirog, who's now retired. And that's fair enough. But he did look vulnerable when he came under attack in that fight. And it was a long time ago. And to be fair, he didn't look vulnerable against Golovkin, who's a huge puncher. And he's looked great since. He beat Sergei Derevianchenko, good friend of his actually, outside the ring for the IBF belt. He's coming into this in good form. He's had lots of notice for the fight. It's on the big stage, which I'm sure he'll enjoy. He's getting paid very well as well. So it's a very tricky one, but I think the value in this fight, without any doubt, is for Canelo to win on points, because Canelo is a big puncher, but I don't see him knocking Jacobs out. I don't think he's that big a puncher that will do that, although he moved up to super middleweight in his last fight and dispatched Rocky Fielding in quick time. I think Jacobs is a big, robust, durable guy. Since Pirog, he hasn't looked in any real danger. But I think in Las Vegas, Canelo's obviously a bit of a favoured son. I can't see Jacobs winning clearly enough to get the decision. So I expect it to go the distance. So I expect Canelo to come out on top. And I think you can get that at the moment, and I think this will change for around 4 to 5, so not far off evens for what most people would agree is the most likely outcome. So it's probably worth going for that. There's some real value on the undercard as well, as John Ryder defends his WBA mandatory status at super middleweight and fights for the WBA interim title, I believe, against the Australian Bilal Akawi. Now, Ryder is a big favourite in this fight, presumably because UK bookmakers have seen a lot of his stuff and haven't been so aware of Akawi. I make this a 50-50 fight, or certainly close to. Akawi's a good fighter. His dad was a good fighter. He's got good pedigree. He's trained by Hall of Famer Jeff Fennick, who speaks very highly of him. I know a trainer would anyway, but Fennick's very kind of straight down the line. And yes, Akawi come into this fight on short notice after Ryder's original opponent, David Lemieux, was forced to pull out. But that means Ryder's had to prepare for a different size and type of fighter. You know, Akawi's taller than Lemieux. He can fight pretty well at range, although he is an aggressive fighter by nature. He will be looking to unload bombs. He's a power puncher, which Lemieux was too. Ryder's very skilled technically. He's got great head movement, nice shot selection. Southpaw, very good fighter. Pushed Billy Joe Saunders close a number of years ago. Has lost a few times since, but generally always in close fights. Only Nick Blackwell stopped him for the British middleweight title. But he can be hit. You know, he's not as good as his defence is. He can be tagged. He likes to tear up sometimes. He's prepared diligently for this. I was at his gym not too long ago, looking great. And, you know, I'm not saying he's going to lose, but the fact that Bilal Akawi is 3-1 outright in a 50-50 fight and does have talent and does have a knockout punch, and it is a neutral venue, and they've both got to contend with kind of last-minute changes or short-notice changes, he's being seriously undervalued, I feel, by the bookmakers. So have a look into his background, have a look at his previous fights, same with Ryder. Weigh it up for yourselves, but 3-1, he's definitely wider odds than you would expect. Let us know what you think below. Engage with us. Tell us what you think is the best bet in the boxing weekend. Who you favour in Canelo and Jacobs, and which fight you're most looking forward to on the undercard. I'll be back next week with the new knockout betting guide. And I hope you're lucky this weekend. Thanks very much.